by now you have been here since what time this morning? Oh, since 12 noon. As I approach the auditorium, I see one of my longtime friends here, and you would think that when you have a friend that's making a presentation, at least you would kind of be excited. I'm not going to call that person out, but he may be one of 3 men sitting in the auditorium that's sitting down close. As Rashawn distributes the handouts, if I'm not mistaken, the title of this session is Advising Through Holes. Is that correct, Professor Jennings?
Yes.
Okay, I should know that by now. I think this is the 4th or 5th one. I also see some colleagues that make me think that this must really, really, really be an important session because they work on the 3rd floor in Hannah Hall. So they work in the White House. My name is Marilyn Square. I'm the University Registrar. And when I was told that my title was University Registrar, I had been Registrar for several years, so I wasn't sure why the university part was added to it. However, one of the daughters of the Registrar's office became Registrar in the law school. So that's why I'm called the University Registrar. Today we will be sharing some information with you about advising through holes. The 3 individuals that you see on the screen are individuals that you would contact about the holes and the challenges that we'll be talking about today. Reginald King is the Assistant Registrar for Student Records. Deborah Johnson is the Registrar for, Kathy, you laughed, you made me lose, you chuckled. Deborah Johnson is the Assistant Registrar for Registration, and Sharina Johnson is the Graduation Analyst. Now, we have over 50 different types of holes, but of course we are not going to discuss all of those holes today. But in your handout, you will find several holes that would be pertinent toward your advising. The first one is an academic hold. This is a hold that the registrar places on student records. And of course, Elena LeMay Gibson, who is in the house, did prepare a banner training manual for us. How many of you have attended the banner training? Quite a few of you. So those of you that have not, are you new to the university or are you new to the advising component? Both? Speak up, I can't. So you're new to the university and to advising. Okay, what about you, ma'am? Both. Okay, those of you that are new, what areas in the academic, which academic departments do you work in? Co-labs, and you are general studies. History, geography? Faculty. Were there any other hands? No. Rather than go through the various holes, how many of you have questions about how to manage the hold? Let me ask a question. When you're processing a registration on SFA regs and a student has a hold and you have been given the privilege to override the hold, do you just override it? Do you click in the box to see what type of hold it is and then refer the student to that department? Look in, see what the hold is for. refer the student to that department. I receive emails and phone calls, numerous emails and phone calls saying, oh, it's a mistake, a student has a hold. And I say it is not a mistake. It was placed there for a reason. So please, if you encounter a hold while you are processing a registration, do not remove the hold if you're not the owner of the hold, because we don't remove them, okay? Any questions about how to manage or process a hold? No. The next topic that I was asked to talk about is transfer credit. And actually, this is a component for the admissions office. However, as registrar, I am familiar with the transfer credit processes. Many times we receive graduation applications and students have received permission to take courses out of residency. A student that has been granted permission to take a course out of residency that are within their last 30 hours must be approved by the registrar's office along with the academic departments, because that gives us an opportunity to review the student's academic history. If the student has already transferred in 66 credit hours from a community college, that is the max. Sometimes we get applications, well, we get the forms later. And once we are processing the final, we're making the final review for the graduation, then the student is disappointed because they've wasted their time and money, because we will not accept the credits. That is not a university policy, that is a state of Texas policy. I've had some academic areas tell a student, I teach that class at a community college. You can come there and take the course, transfer it back in. What's wrong with that picture if it's a 300 or 400 level course? The faculty member will say, well, it's the same content. And then, of course, I'm a policy and procedure person. I pull out the university catalog and I say, it states here that lower division courses cannot transfer in for upper division courses. I said, there's a reason there's a community college and a four-year institution. So please, as you are advising your students not only toward graduation, but each semester when they come to you, please remind them that they should not take courses out of residency without contacting you for permission, because they will be disappointed. We will not accept the courses. They will have wasted time and money. Another thing, recently, and Ms. Rice, I'm not picking on collabs, but she works in one of the largest academic areas, and the major that she is the advisor for has the largest number of students, which is general studies. We recently had students that are applying for graduation for this December who have grades that they transferred in less than C. Now, what's wrong with that picture? We don't accept less than a C unless the core is complete. Although the core may be complete, the academic departments have their own policies, and if it says they will not accept less than a C, then the student must repeat the course. In this case, we have students that went to advisors or faculty, or we're not sure who they actually went to, and got permission to have C minuses and Ds transfer in. And now it's a challenge because there's no paperwork to say who gave them permission. A student does have a right to challenge the hours that they receive upon evaluation of transfer work, and the academic department does have the right to make that decision that we will or will not accept the courses. However, please make sure you're following the policies and the procedures for those exceptions. Any questions about transfer hours? Any concerns? Any complaints? Okay, let's move to other obstacles. We take attendance here at TSU because we have over 90% of our students on Title IV funds for financial aid. We are required to return the money if students do not attend. On the first class day, the registrar's office provides you with a roster and a memorandum. The memorandums are sent electronically, and we also make copies of the memorandum to go with each roster. Now, if you're not getting the memorandum, please contact us. I'll be happy to send you the memorandum. So for the first 2 weeks of the semester, you are required to take attendance for the fall and spring. It's the first 4 days of the summer sessions. Students that do not attend during the first 2 weeks at all should be reported to the registrar's office. Then we will process that NAT, never attended, which is what you place on your roster, as an FA on SFA regs. That information is submitted to the financial aid office and student accounting. There is a very small window between the 12th class day, which is the roster that you were reported on, and the 20th class day. We've just experienced that. We're still receiving rosters saying a student never attended. It's too late. Financial aid has already had to make their report to the Department of Education. Student accounting has already had to make their report. So please adhere to the deadlines. It's not Marilyn Square's deadline. It's not the university's deadline. These are deadlines that we're trying to meet for external agencies. Yes.
I have a question. There has been a student in my class, and I have seen this student on Blackboard since the first week, but he was not on the first week roster. He was not on the second week roster. He was not on the 12th-day roster. No attendance whatsoever. And I kept communicating to the students that were not attending, et cetera. Nothing. He's still, so I never saw him on the roster. I could see him on Blackboard, and I sometimes saw him on Banner, but never on the roster. Was not on the 12th-day roster, appeared on the 20th-day roster. For the first
The reason the student was not on the first day, class day, the second week, and the 12th could have been because he was not marked paid. The memorandum states this is a roster of all students that have either paid or have a deferment as of whatever date I ran the report, even the time of day. I was asked not to add students to the rosters that had not paid because they're not officially enrolled. Right. You can see it on Blackboard, but you also said you saw them in Banner.
Well, I'm not sure that
Right.
I'm not in
You could have seen them on Blackboard because they had selected a course, but not in Banner unless you're looking. Okay.
But
Okay.
he is on the 20th day roll, and he has never attended, ever, but he's on the 20th day roll.
Okay, if he's never attended your class, then you have the right to send us documentation stating he's never attended. We can administratively drop him. We've had a number of students that were purged for non-payment. How am I doing? Time. A number of students that were purged for non-payment. We've had a number of those students come daily requesting reinstatement to their classes. The registrar's office does not have the authority to place students in your classes after the first census date. When they come to us, I refer them back to the academic department. If you choose to allow them to register for your classes in week 3, 4, or 5, then you must send documentation to the registrar's office and we will process it upon your request. Now, in some cases, we've had students that knew they didn't have the money and they selected their courses, but they continued to go to class. We have letters stating the student has attended class, never on my roster. So please, if a student was not on your roster, they were not officially enrolled. And it creates a lot of challenges, not only for, it's not a challenge for the registrar's office because we're record keepers, but it affects other areas, internally and externally. Midterm rosters. I think it's been a year now, Dr. Ohia has requested that not only deficient courses, grades, but all grades for students. If Courtney has an A+, he wants to see the A+ on the class roster. So every student must have a grade at midterm time. And midterms are processed online. The 60% roster. This is a roster that you process online. This roster is important because, once again, the students that may have been attending by the 12th class day may not be attending now and they have not officially withdrawn. Those students create a challenge that we are now facing. I don't know if Ms. Ballard mentioned it to you, but every October, the state auditors contact the registrar's office, student accounting, and financial aid. This week, I've had to address, from a population of X number of students, 10 students from that population that were reported as not attending a semester later, a year later, and so forth. When it's outside the semester, the university can be fined if that student actually received Title IV funds. That would mean that we collected money that we weren't entitled to. So it's more than just students on a roster. The roster is very important to, once again, not just the registrar's office, student accounting, and financial aid, but to the university. If a student comes to you and they beg you, please, I had this challenge, that challenge, don't go from your heart, go by the policy. Please, it can cost the university money and embarrassment. The final class day roster, student hasn't come, they weren't reported on the 12th class day roster. On the 60% roster, they were reported. But if Marilyn had 12 hours and only 9 hours were reported, as the last date of attendance was October, then we cannot drop those students. We cannot withdraw those students. We can't withdraw them from courses. We can only do a total withdrawal. So in many cases, when I'm looking at the 60% roster, I see that Ms. Rice was registered in 12 hours, 9 hours were reported by instructors. I know that when the All F's report is submitted and a letter is sent to Ms. Rice, she's gonna come back and say, oh, well, I stopped attending. Well, now it's outside the 30 days that we needed to report to the other departments. If you have students that are not attending, please report them. Now, I've had professors say, well, if I'm just not gonna do it. I'm not gonna report them as not attending, because once I report them as not attending, then they come back, I have to write a letter. You do not have to write a letter unless you made an error. It's not an error if John Doe has never attended her class. That's not an error. That's a fact. So please, the attendance rosters are very, very important. And let me just say one more thing. When you report a student is not attending on September 18th, the student comes back to you on September 19th. We put them back in. Financial aid then has to make an adjustment because they've submitted something saying, okay, adjust this student's financial aid based on the fact they're no longer full-time. They've dropped to part-time or half-time. So can you imagine what the state of Texas thinks about us when we say, oh, well, now we need the money back. No, we're giving it back to you. No, now we need it again. Please, help us with that attendance policy. I only have 1 minute left, and rather than go through the obstacles that we face with the graduation process, please ask me questions. I'm sure some of you would like to know, when will you receive your graduation analysis? Is that a question? Okay. We have until October 21st to submit the graduation analysis to the dean, the department chair, and the advisors, and the students. We send the analysis to the students by email and mail. On December 5th, when we are submitting the final list to go to print, guess what happens? We have students coming to our office with their packets that have been signed since prior to the deadline, and for this semester it was September 14th. I didn't know I was supposed to bring this anywhere. Oh, my parents are coming, and one kid told us, I have 40-something people coming. And you know what the registrar wanted to say was, then you need to inform your family that you will not be on the program and you will not be participating in commencement. That might seem harsh, but when we've allowed that to happen, we get a call on Monday from the president's office. John Doe's mom said they did everything on time and their name wasn't on the program. The student is always right. When they go to the president's office, it's something we didn't do. And it is something that we didn't do. When we sent you your final list, You didn't tell us, well, I have an application or I have a student that should be on your list. If you had notified us, then we would have had time to get that student's name to the printer, but we would want to know, why don't we have the application? It's a check and balance. We had too many students this May that came to us 2 days before. There was a father that came and he said, I think that you don't understand. So I said, yes, sir, I do understand. Well, you must not have children. I said, no. I have children and grandchildren. And so he was very angry, and I always put myself in the place of a parent or grandparent. I could sympathize with him, but my job requires that I follow the policies that you send to us. They're not the registrar's policies, they are the academic policies that we are to enforce. So on that note, please, if you have any questions about any of these areas that we've discussed today, I do have an open door policy. I don't have an 8 to 5 job, so I'm here 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and we will be happy to assist you. I would like for us to be more proactive than reactive, because when we get in reactive mode, then we are creating challenges that require cleanup. Courtney Lytle is one of my proteges. I was very hard on her. I let her know I like you as a person, but this is the way it needs to be done. She's doing an excellent job with her program, and I see a lot of faces that I communicate with throughout the academic year, and I need you. We support you, but I need you all to support us. Okay? Thank you very much.